From Beyond Marketing, it's the 20-Minute Call, a podcast about the dreamers, boundary pushers, rebels, and champions of the skydiving industry. Each episode is a narrative journey highlighted by the highs, lows, and luck that the skydiving industry delivers, as told by the most influential people within the sport. If you've ever dreamed of becoming a skydiver, perhaps opening a drop zone, or becoming the next world champion, check out the 20-Minute Call hosted by me, James LeBarry.
Hello, everybody. I am joined by my guest, Cheryl Stearns, for the second time. Easily one of my heroes in the sport. If you've not listened to our original interview, be sure to go back and listen to episode number 34. In this interview, we'll dig deeper into topics that we didn't have time for that I really want to dig into this week. If you're unfamiliar with Cheryl and you didn't listen to episode 34, here's a quick high-level summary. Cheryl has accomplished 33 national championships. She's a two-time women's overall world champion in style and accuracy. She's a three-time overall women's style and accuracy world military champion. She has over 30 world records. She has over 23,000 jumps, the most of any woman in the world. She's the first female member of the U.S. Army Golden Knights. She's a Guinness World Record holder for the most parachute jumps in 24 hours by a woman, 352 jumps, while also shooting accuracy. That's just a small portion of a resume that is an arm length long. But you get the idea. We have someone very special here. Cheryl, welcome to the 20-Minute Call once again. You are my first guest to be on this show 2 times, and I'm thrilled to have you.
Well, thank you very much, James. It's a pleasure.
It's a pleasure indeed. Okay, I'm going to unfortunately start with a little bit of a somber note. Yesterday, at the time of this recording, we learned that we lost 3 people from the skydiving community, and not just any skydiving community, but the Skydive Carolina skydiving community, both of our home drop zones. It's the day after, and it is times like these where we wrestle with our own mortality and humanity, which made me think about you. In your 50-year career, you've likely said goodbye to many friends directly related to skydiving. So my question to you is, have you ever doubted or taken a pause and thought, in the many friends you've likely lost through the years, is jumping out of planes worth it? And how have you determined that it is?
Well, it's definitely worth it. It's like any sport that they say our sport's dangerous. Well, high diving, skiing, any of that, anybody can get injured there, motorcycle riding, racing, and so forth. But as long as you know your boundaries, the safety issues, respect the sport very much, and do the proper guidelines, then it is safe. It's when some people are invincible and they step beyond their ability, and that's when they get into trouble. But yes, and we just lost 3 great people that are like our brothers or sisters. We're all one community, that are a very special community, because only a certain amount of people skydive that will make that jump. If even one person makes a jump, they've joined our community. And we come from all walks of life out there. So we're all different, but we still have one thing in common, and that's jumping out of airplanes or flying airplanes.
How is it, with all that you've accomplished, that you haven't felt invincible?
I think because one of my jumps in early days of when I was 17, I had a malfunction, and I opened up at 300 feet by the time I finished doing the procedures very slowly, when I should have been methodically a little bit faster. That's when I realized that I can get myself killed. And that was a lucky, rude awakening for me, that this sport and anything else in life, you take the risk that you shouldn't be taken, per se, because your ability or whatever the deal is, then you can easily get yourself killed. I mean, we've all had close calls. If you're a pilot, if you're flying, any sport, you've had close calls, and you've taken a step back and regroup and go, okay, I'm not going there now. And that same thing like with flying. We get where people get killed from homeitis. They got to get home. They got situations instead of going, you know what? I'll just wait till tomorrow. Same thing with jumping. They'll go like, God, I should have waited. I should not have made that jump because the winds are coming up, but I'll make one more. I can handle it. And then you end up getting injured because the winds came up too high for your ability.
What's interesting to me there, Cheryl, is that incident that you say has kept you not from getting complacent happened so early in your career. I mean, it's likely you've had 22,000 plus jumps since then. Have you had any close calls that also have added reminders to you that not to get complacent, or have you had a very sort of steady pace of always being mindful?
Well, I've been mindful, but we've all had, I have had where I kind of pushed it a little bit, and now at my age of 68, it is not worth it. I've realized now through many, many years, I'd rather wait tomorrow. It's like accuracy in a competition. I could get that disc per se, but how much I might get injured on it, I'd rather do what we call a go around, just go ahead and land safely, because, okay, I blew that competition, but hey, a month from now, a year from now, I've got another competition that I can at least compete in, because I don't want to land in the hospital because I tried to hit the target, and get there when I should have just bailed on it for safety reasons. Same thing for an airplane. If it's not safe to land, it kind of equates to parachuting. It's not safe to land. Try to do a go around, and come back and safely land. With the parachute, you just have to bail and just forget about the area you're going to land in.
When I was thinking about how long I've been aware of your career, Cheryl, I'm hard pressed to think. Have you been injured skydiving?
No, not skydiving. Yes, you've had a little sprained ankle here and there, but mostly it's bicycle wrecks. But it hurt my wrist one time. I landed too hard off the tuffet, and there's always that chance you can hit a little gopher hole and trip and break your ankle. And I don't mind sliding on my rear end if I'm too fast under a canopy. I'd rather do that than try to run it out, because there's too a high chance of twisting my ankle and tripping, falling, rolling all over the place and ruining my gear. And it's just easier I don't have any ego. People say, hey, you got 23,000 jumps, Cheryl, why are you sliding on your butt? Well, because I want to be able to jump the next jump. I don't care what I look like out there.
You said running out of landing. I don't think I've ever seen you on a canopy that wasn't an accuracy canopy, clearly.
I have little rigs. Yeah, I use them for style or RW. And if there's no wind, I have to pretty much kind of slide it.
I'm not very familiar with accuracy. Obviously, I've been to accuracy meets and I've seen it, but I saw pictures recently of an accuracy meet where there were metal sort of guardrails to keep spectators out, but it was close to the tuffet, and I thought, oh my gosh, how do competitors feel about that?
They're within 50 feet. We have a 50-foot radius, but we all land on a 10-meter target, so that's plenty of room. We land, and we've got 30 meters to get out. It's about 30 meters.
Plenty of room even if you're relatively new to accuracy?
Well, no. No, those are for the higher quality world-class competitions where they keep it a pretty small area.
Okay, I gotcha. It's remarkable how few injuries that you have had. Before I move away from that, tell me your process. I mean, you still pack? Have you packed most every jump I know you packed for yourself.
I still pack all my parachutes, yes. Mm-hmm.
So you've always packed through 3,000 jump?
No, not on my 352 jumps I made in 24 hours. I just packed the last one. And then there are some times when I was on the Army team, we were doing relative work, and we're making a lot of jumps. We had packers just for that period of time. But otherwise, 99.99% I've packed my own parachute. It's a chance for me to inspect it. I know my gear and what's being worn out or whatever, then I can get things fixed. And then I have a consistent way of packing, so I have a consistent opening.
What is your mental approach and your overall, I guess, that's the right phrase, mental approach to jumping, because it's not by accident that you've had no accidents. I imagine you've had few cutaways if you're packing every single time and have been doing this so many times that I'm just curious, like, what is your approach? Because you don't seem complacent, and you have an enormous amount of jumps, and nary a sprained ankle.
My approach is that I know where my abilities are, and yes, as you're learning, your abilities are is very small, and then you get better and better and better at it. But now at my level, I don't push Mother Nature. Mother Nature is fully in control. I know where my limits are with my canopy and my skill level. Yes, I have a very high skill level. I could handle it, but why should I go up when my stomach is not feeling very good about it? When I get that funny feeling that it doesn't look right, I don't go. As I say, there's always tomorrow. And most of the time on the drop zone, people says, well, Cheryl's not jumping. There's got to be a reason. They pretty much stay down then because it's just not safe. And I see a thunderstorm coming. Yeah, you can get high winds, 10 miles away easily. And it's like, no, that thing's coming. No, we'll just pack up and be done. Because, yeah, you might not get any winds, but if you do and you're caught in it, you wish you hadn't gone up. There's always tomorrow. I always look at that. And same thing with flying. If I need to get someplace, I'd rather get there a day late than never get there. And that's the difference between maturity, I think, and knowledge that you have. And we've been there. We've seen it. I've seen it many times, through friends, people I know, that they shouldn't have done what they did. Why did they do it? And then you try to get into their mindset of why they pushed it.
If you're a DZO or DZM listening to this podcast and you're not using Burble, I've got a question. Why not? If the reason is price, what's the cost of your time? Other booking and manifest softwares are a one-size-fits-all. Burble was built from the ground up by a DZO for DZOs to maximize efficiency. Now, isn't that nice? There's no software that compares. Choose Burble. Cheryl, in our last conversation, you alluded to your desire to set a world record for the highest jump ever made, which was known as StratoQuest, or the StratoQuest project, which was in discussion around 2006, 7, 8 of occurring. And you wanted to beat Colonel Joe Kittinger's record. And, when we last talked, you mentioned, I still feel, my sense anyway, is that it irks you that you didn't achieve this record. I think when you put your mind to something, you always get it done. And this one was something you didn't. So for those unfamiliar, can you tell us about the StratoQuest project, starting where the desire to achieve this even came from?
I mean, ever since I was little, I always wanted to be an astronaut. So this was actually my chance of getting into not space, but a very, very high altitude. And the record, records are made to be broken. And it was a chance for me to break a record. I mean, yes, Joe Kittinger had the Guinness Book of World Records, but the Russians had the free fall record. So I wanted to go after it. It's achievable. It wasn't the right time per se. The scientific knowledge we have now, that not back there 20 years ago, we had issues with money and timing and other stuff that was happening. And the thing is, I put almost 10 years into it. So some records are made within a few days, and some records could be a lifetime. And this was already 10 years, and it was almost there to be had. But then I just got beat out, by Felix Bombard from Red Bull with the money and all that. And then now, yes, it's a male's record, but it costs over $20 million. Now, who's going to support me to do a women's record? I really needed to break the men's and the women's and be done with it, where it'd take many years later to break the record again, just like Joe's. I mean, his was a long time, from 69, 68.
How were you planning to do it? Were you thinking that you would use a capsule as Red Bull did?
Yes. I mean, I started out like an open balloon and then wear the suit the whole time. That was the issue, is finding a pressurized suit that a company would do that. That was the other issue, because of the liability of what happened to Nick Pintanetti way back, getting killed. So the company didn't want to participate in that anyway. And I even went to Russia trying to get their help on a suit, and that now we have other issues from how are you going to get that over there trained? And it was a lot of logistical stuff, money, logistical. And so I spent a lot of time traveling around, getting a team together and trying to find is a catch-22. We'll put money in if someone else puts money in, but no one would initiate the start of it. And we had the .coms, the 9/11. You had all of that happening. That the timing just wasn't there. And then it was probably maybe never meant to be, or do it later. It might not have been safe at that time to get the equipment that I was looking to have, compared to what they did finally with the Red Bull.
I vaguely remember that time, and I want to say that the dollar figure that you were trying to reach was somewhere between $6 and $8 million, and I'm sure it's much more now.
Yeah, I mean, like Red Bull's was like almost $20 million, so it's a lot, because you got a lot of personnel, from weathermen to record, comptrollers. I mean, the whole deal. There's just the equipment itself.
Did you consult with Colonel Joe, through that?
Yes, I had, and of course he wasn't looking at anybody that wanted to go beat his record, because there's so many people that says, I want to go beat your record, and in reality, like, do your homework first and then maybe come to me, because it's not as easy as you think by just saying, I'm just going to go out and beat your record. It was years of preparation, and he had the military for his side for preparation. And yes, he's the real pioneer out there. I mean, that was the going into the unknown for sure, where we have much better idea of what's going on. We don't want to get ourselves killed. His was a high chance of probability of getting killed, higher than ours would be, because we want zero tolerance. We don't want to. I want to be successful, so come back down and talk about it.
When Felix set the record with Red Bull, I think it was 2012. Mm-hmm. How did it make you feel?
Well, I happened to be down in Daytona Beach just doing an air show, and finished up, and I was in the FBO going to go fly my airplane home, and then saw it on TV, because I didn't know what was happening. And it was gut-wrenching. It really was, because it was like, I should have been there. He did it. He worked at it, and the team worked at it, and took a full team to make it happen. And yeah, it was. I said, well, I'm done. This dream of what I always wanted to do is now not going to happen.
I could see. And what did you think about the subsequent record?
Oh, with
Alan Eustace.
Alan Eustace. That was kept very, very quiet, and they let it out after he did it. So it was very interesting that, so there's another way. He did a full parachute, a full thing, but didn't free fall. It's more drogue. It was a high jump. So it was a different aspect. It was kind of like Joe Kittinger's jump, where it wasn't a free fall jump. It was strictly the highest jump. So he basically really beat Joe Kittinger's jump, because his was a drogue.
Yeah, quite different
from Felix Bombard. And that was what I wanted to do. Was I knew what it would be like to go 900 miles an hour. You wouldn't feel anything. There's no pressure anywhere until you get down to about 80,000 feet. There's so much research I did and knowledge I got of what could and would and what might happen, and how do we fix it if it does happen. And so all that came into play, but it never got to be on my end.
Cheryl, are there any other large goals that you wanted to achieve, like a StratoQuest or anything else, that you were not able to do?
No, that took a lot of energy. That took a lot of time, manpower, and money, and it just took a lot of energy, and then it just got ripped out from underneath me. So it kind of deflated me. Yes, normally, when I go to the world meets and I get cheated out from winning the world championships because of the judges, where they actually really cheated, then it just made me madder, and I go, well, now I just have to be twice as good next time, so no matter how much they cheat, I can still win. But that was a lot, and then that was a huge project, and it's going to be another huge project if it was ever to be taken on again. But now this time I have to have, I'm not going to put all that energy trying to chase it now, because I spent 10 years chasing it.
Something that you said that I'm wondering if it's helped you excel in your career is, if you've been cheated out by judges from winning a competition, let's say, do you need a little extra motivation because you've been challenged or pushed in every turn of your career?
I've had obstacles every turn. In the beginning with being on the Army team, you can't go because you're number 12 to start with. Well, I was left behind on the first meet, so that made me better to beat the rest of the men so I could be number 1, so I'm not left behind. I didn't go to these meets because I was a woman. I had to go because of my performance when I was on the team. Same thing with getting on the U.S. team here and so forth, or going to other meets, is because of your performance, not because of your sex. So, yes, I need the challenge. I really do. I mean, that's what really motivates me. And what motivates me, like at meets, is not individual, it's the team I'm jumping with. That's where I really perform well, is not to mess up my team. And that's where we made a real good, cohesive, great team for the Army team the last few years I was there, because no one wanted to mess up. We didn't think about us as an individual, we thought about us as a team. So no matter how not good you are in a team, you can still win if you got that motivation and drive as a team. So it's the same thing as individual here that drives me.
The reason why I bring that up is because I don't know if you've seen the documentary on Michael Jordan called The Last Dance, but it's a documentary that walks you through his career of winning 6 world championships. What we learn about Michael Jordan is what helped motivate him were slights that were put against him, and some of them were manufactured. He needed that little extra drive, and I do view you as that caliber athlete. I think it may be overlooked because you're so nice and congenial, but I see you as someone with a killer instinct, not unlike, as I've referenced before, Michael Jordan, where you were top of the game. But do I have that right? Do you have a killer?
You have it 100% right. I really do. And lately I haven't won very much because there isn't that there's the drive, but there's not the, there's no cheating out there anymore. Everything's fair across the board. And yeah, I need something. I need something to kick me in the butt and really make me charge hard.
So you say you haven't won recently. Does that rankle you? No,
it's more of I haven't been able to train the way I want to train and properly, weather, this, that, and conditions. And yeah, I might be getting the jumps, but the conditions aren't great, so I'm not able to practice foot placement or whatever, or I go out and the weather is not good, and now I had 4 days off and didn't get one single jump, and I'm competing against people that are jumping full-time. That is their job. Yes, if I could be sponsored full-time and jump full-time, no one would touch me.
Even today?
No, even today. If I were sponsored fully and could jump every day where I wouldn't get burned out, I do have a limit, so I can't get to the point where I'm burning myself out. My frustration is I can't train the way I want to train because of weather, this, drop zones closed. When the weather's good, they're open. When the weather's bad, I mean, it's all luck of the draw.
Have you met any other competitors like you that have that great sportsmanship, but a killer instinct?
Yes, I mean, there's a lot of us out there, and there were civilians, or that were military, now civilians, and it's hard for us because, we're at the top, but we don't want to go to the bottom. I mean, you make a small mistake at the meet, now all of a sudden you're 80th place. I mean, that's hard to. But as I always said, I've lost more than I won, but I don't get to the bottom of the pile there, and. A couple jumps, couple meets, I've been at the bottom of the pile just because it's been Mother Nature, the luck of the draw of when we jump, the winds are terrible, absolutely terrible. But we go, oh gosh, hope we don't jump during this time frame. We do, and they try to control it, but sometimes there's just, I don't care what you do, it's just not you got the bad luck, of that meet.
Much of our conversations are about skydiving. But I'm curious to learn more about your aviation career. You have over 23,000 hours of...
26,000.
26,000 hours of flight time. So what is the best thing about being a pilot?
For me, it's all hands-on, and there's so much knowledge out there that you have to have. You have to know meteorology, airspace, rules and regulations. So you have to have all that other knowledge to keep you safe. Please abide by the rules and regulations. That's why they're out there. then the hands-on is the flying, eye coordination and listening, and you're flying all parts of your body, from your hands to your feet to your ears and eyes. It's all got to combine together to fly the aircraft properly. So it does take skill in that. Some people, no matter how hard you try, just cannot be pilots, period. So it takes a certain type of folks to make it, and then it takes the type that doesn't push, as you always say, there's the bold pilots, but there's no old bold pilots, I hope to be just an old pilot, never a bold one. So aviation is like jumping. Jumping is like flying a glider, and you've got rules and regulations to make sure you stay safe. That's why we're opening altitudes, wind limits, all this other stuff. And same thing with flying. You've got your aircraft that has its limits of being able to fly, and don't push it beyond that. And your skill also. Should you even be in that airplane? If you haven't flown that airplane in a while, why are you in it? Especially carrying passengers. Now you just broke a rule right there. And that's usually when something happens. What's
the worst thing about being a pilot today?
There isn't any. We're a shortage of pilots. The problem is they don't have the background knowledge that they had to get to the airlines or to get to the corporate world. We flew smaller airplanes, did smaller jobs, and then you worked your way up. The problem is these people are just being taught procedures, and they just jump into these big airplanes. They don't have that background knowledge we all had. I came from people that were Vietnam pilots, World War II pilots, that had a lot of experience of hand flying airplanes. Now everything's autopilot procedures, and then when all that fails, can you still hand fly an airplane? And that's the issue out there. That half the time they won't take an airplane that doesn't have the autopilot. It doesn't work. Oh, you don't want to hand fly this thing? No. Because they probably can't that well. Yes, everybody's got to go through training once a year or twice a year, depending on the company. And you have to hand fly it. Okay, so you hand flew it for 30 minutes. That was it, out of a year.
When I think of hand flying, when you said when all else fails, immediately what comes to mind is
autopilot, auto throttle fails, when an engine quits, whatever, and now you are flying a basic airplane. And you better know how to do it, what to do, and do it quickly and correctly.
So what comes to mind to me when you say that is Captain Sullenberger, who yes. lands in the Hudson, so famously. Do you know him, and what was your evaluation?
He's been my captain several times, and he's a wonderful guy, and he was thought very quickly. The thing is with flying and jumping, problem-solved decision-making, you better be quick on that. And make the right decision fast. And that comes with knowledge and experience. And he knew just by looking out there, and luckily, luck was on his side. It was VFR day, visual, that you could see forever. And he knew he couldn't make it back to LaGuardia with two engines that are just flaming out right now. And he couldn't make it to Newark. And the only place he can go to is into the river. That, to me, that is like closure rate for our parachute. I don't have an engine on it. It's a glider. Can I make it to this tuffet? How close do I need to get to this landing area? And that's what's his. He was stuck right here, quit right there. Now where's the best place you can put it? The river. There was no other place. And as I say, he's lucky that it wasn't IFR and fog, and they would all been killed. So he did an outstanding job. He made the decisions quickly. His co-pilot, Jeff, was awesome, trying to get the thing started and trying to do what needed to do on the other stuff. And Sully's, hand flying the airplane. All engines quit. Nothing's working. No auto throttles. He's just got the stick in his hand. That's it.
How do you think you would have handled that situation?
The same. It's... When I fly, I fly my single engine aircraft. I don't fly a multi. I do for work, but I have a Cessna 185. So while I'm flying, I'm always looking down what my glide ratio is on my iPad. Where, if it fails right now, where can I go? So I'm always looking at fields, and so they're there. Now, if I'm IFR, I'm not looking at fields, and hopefully my engine doesn't quit during that time frame. I try not to fly at night over mountains. Definitely not. That limits if something does happen to me. Rare is it going to happen? It never has. Has my engine ever quit? No, but that would be the likely time it would. So it's always, you just have to be prepared. You can't be complacent. Same thing with jumping. We always practice my cutaway emergency procedures before, I get in the aircraft. So it's just instilled all the time. Same thing with the flying, that you review engine failures before you take off. If this thing fails, where am I going to go? And which direction am I going to take off and go for engine failure? And then what are the procedures of doing it? Because most of the time we never see that stuff except for once or twice a year in recurrency. But it needs to be there all the time in the back of your head. So when it does happen, you're not behind the ball game.
And you flew as a professional commercial pilot for Piedmont Airlines, later U.S. Airways.
And then later American.
And later American. So you have flown probably thousands of legs through cities throughout the United States. In such a long career, have you had any really scary moments where you had to hand fly or make some critical decisions to keep everyone safe?
The only time that way back in the Piedmont days when we didn't, the captains did their things their way, and, the procedures aren't as strict as we have now because of the accidents. In aviation should be zero tolerance where no one dies of any sort. But, the military, they have 10%. If they have to go out and do something, they expect a 10% loss. Well, we shouldn't have that in our aviation of any sort, any type of aviation, general, airlines, corporate, any of that stuff. But we had an issue. I was the co-pilot, and we had an issue where the thunderstorms are building up, and they're holding us. And I said, I think we need to divert. Nah, we'll make it. Well, they got so bad where we had to go through the thunderstorm and survived that, but it was 50-knot winds on the ground, and our airplane really couldn't handle that particular crosswind, and he had to hand fly it, and I had to read out the altitude because you couldn't. It was so all the instruments were so blurry, and the thing is, we were out of fuel. There was no go around. We were done. When we touched down, we couldn't even get ourselves to the gate. We had to be towed in, but no one said anything. Nowadays we'd all get in trouble for all that, but. First of all, we would have diverted. We would have made the decision soon enough, early enough to divert, to go get the fuel and stay out of the thunderstorms. But that was the days people pushed things. We don't do that now. Yes, there are some people still out there, maybe in general aviation, but not the airline. We have so many strict rules, procedures that we not allowed to do that. You can't do that. We have a flow chart that says if you got this amount. And now everything in the airplane is very sophisticated of how much fuel do you really have left, how much holding time do you have before you need to divert. Back then it was all calculated in your head. It was a guesstimate.
Cheryl, for the longest time as a passenger, certainly not as a pilot, you are sort of lulled into thinking that everything is safer than maybe that it is. And then there's been an awareness level today where, okay, there's a lot of issues going on with Boeing in terms of quality control, or there have been near plane strikes on takeoffs and landings at various airports. Is aviation today as safe as we all hope that it is, or or is it that we just have more social media and news outlets that are reporting on this? Is it worse, better? What's your take?
It's 10 times better. We do have the accidents that, guaranteed every single day there's an accident, period. In general aviation, every day of some sort in this world, an airplane is going down. Now, is it an incident or accident? Did anybody get killed? How much structural damage and so forth? But every day there's something. There's a lot of airplanes flying out there, and it's like cars. You're going to have an accident somewhere. It's just the odds of it is going to happen there. But it's much, much safer, 10 times safer than the old days. We have very good equipment. We have so much. The procedures, because every accident brings us better procedures of some sort, from checklist to this to that. I mean, it was before in the old days, they take off and they go, oh, we got to divert. Why? Well, they have no fuel because they forgot to get their fuel when they landed. They thought they had the fuel, but it never got refueled. So where did they miss that on the checklist? Well, it really never was on the checklist. So now we have it 3 times on the checklist. Before you push back, when you taxi out, and before you take off, double check that you're... So the very important things are triple checked. And it's what happens is when you miss the checklist, you're starting to read it, you get interrupted for some reason. Flight attendant calls you up or something like that, and then you don't finish the checklist. You thought you finished it, you didn't. When you're interrupted, you're supposed to start the checklist all over again, whatever it was, so you make sure you don't miss it. And what happens is you go, oh, we already did that, and you started right here, and you missed the flap setting. There goes an accident that happened in Detroit. They didn't put their flaps out. So somewhere they missed that on their checklist and something interrupted them, didn't get called, never got checked. So through accidents, we better ourselves. It's a shame that we have to have the accidents to better ourselves, but that's pretty much the way it is.
If you're a fan of the 20-Minute Call, I'd like to invite you to be a member of a budding community with me on Patreon. By becoming a patron of the show, you can join me behind the scenes to discuss options for future guests and gain access to some show swag. It's pretty sweet. Details on how to become a patron can be found in the show notes. Okay, back to the show. I remember in our last conversation that when you got hired at Piedmont, they kind of took a flyer on you. They were uncertain about you, or at least one of the hiring folks were, because of all that you were doing in terms of parachuting. And, someone took a chance on you, and eventually down the line you became captain.
Right.
What did it mean to you to become a captain for a major airline?
Well, back then, it took 20 years to make captain. I mean, now people are making it in a short amount of time. I just ran into a lady that was, been hired in 2012 and made, as a captain 3 years later on the Airbus. I mean, it took me 23 years to make the captain because of no hiring stuff. But you know what? That was fine because I learned so much in the right seat of what the good pilot, what the good captains were, and it took the good stuff and threw away the bad stuff. That came from flying skills, knowledge, and attitude, because some of those people didn't have very good attitude either. So make sure when you walk in the cockpit, your whole crew there goes, oh, do we have a good captain here, or do we have one that we can't talk to? Communication is very important because it sets up the whole atmosphere in there. And if you don't have a very good atmosphere, that's when the accidents happen. So yeah, finally, I made captain, which was great because now I can really apply my skills as a leader before I'm a follower. It's a 2-man crew, but you're still the follower, not the leader. But please give me your input. I'm not going to hesitate to take any input you want to tell me. I make mistakes. I'm not human. That's why there's 2 of us up there. So if something's not right, don't hint to me, please. Flat out tell me what you don't like or see or whatever, and then we can discuss it. Or just tell me to go around, I'll go around, and then I'll say, why did you want me to go around? We'll discuss it after the fact, but let's get up and get some altitude and get out of there and not go, why do you want me to go around, as I'm coming in and hit the cow on the runway that I never saw,
Is that pretty common in commercial aviation today to do go-arounds?
Yes, before it was a pride thing. It was an ego deal. I'm going to make it on this runway. I mean, that was one thing that scared me. In Fort Myers, the guy says, I said, you're high, you're fast, you're high. I think you need to go around. Oh no, I can make this. And oh my gosh, he barely made it, full reversers breaking, and we barely didn't go off the runway. We didn't, because I never had an accident in that. So, but it scared me. And now if someone says go around, you don't question it. You just do it and then discuss it later. It's really, things are now no ego. Before the guys didn't want to go around, we just say now we just make more money. And it's safer.
I have to ask you, I have consumed so much content on social media, namely YouTube, of these like heavy crosswind landings, say in England. and you see the correction as it's wavering, and you're thinking, oh my God, I can't imagine being a pilot and having a cool nerve to be able to put it down in heavy crosswinds. I mean, how
I love those challenges. It's like jumping. I love crummy, crappy conditions, but flying, give me the crosswinds, because that's a real challenge, a real skill and you better be working the throttle yourself, not letting the auto throttle, because that'll really goof you up. And then that's the real skill of putting it down at the right time where you just kiss the ground. You should never, ever have to hammer an airplane in. If you're going to, you better put the power in and get out of there. So it better be a very controlled landing. It might be bouncing here or there, but we're not putting it on the ground yet. It's not touching the ground. It's just, left, right, trying to keep it straight. And then you got X point decision making where you need to go around. I don't have enough runway now. Need to go around, try this again. And then when you put it on, it's got to be where you kiss it on. And then get it on and stop it. But don't put it on until it's ready to go on softly. Otherwise, you're going to damage the gear and everything.
You reminded me, I was on a flight earlier this year, and we pounded in so hard on landing. I mean, it was jolting. I never had a landing like that, and you're making me think we probably should have gone around.
Yeah, and I was on one. We were coming back from a red eye from Phoenix, flying into Charlotte, and the captain was flying, and we're tired. At 4 to 6, it's like 4 o'clock's the worst, and we were getting in early, like we had a huge tailwind, and he wasn't quite awake, and that's when, talk too much. You did, but you didn't back then as the Piedmont, as the old days, I should say. And then right at the end, I yell, flare. I just like, what are you doing? Because I wasn't asleep, but we're not all there. He definitely wasn't there. And he just slammed into the ground. I mean, the overhead bins came open and they had inspected gear. I mean, I had a headache and my back ached for a couple of days. It was the hardest landing I've ever had. And he just never flared. He just flew it right into the ground. He was half asleep. I didn't know he was half asleep. And that's where the communication comes in. And so, hey, are you awake? We got this, we wake each other, I mean, you make sure you're supposed to be, you're awake, but are you really all there on these? Sometimes it's hard, the 4 o'clock to 6, and it's still dark out there, and flying in the dark, and now you're really alert. So you've got to make sure each other's alert, at least for that 2-minute time period.
When you're in left seat as a captain, and every other flight you probably have, or probably every flight, you have a new right seat pilot and
vice versa.
Right.
Yeah. It could be every leg, every day, every trip, depends on what goes on. Because
you don't know their experience level, or maybe their experience level, but how they operate.
We don't have the problem now like the old days. It was like the co-pilot was the hardest job because we didn't know what the captain wanted. He did it his way. That was it. I don't read a checklist. Oh, okay, well, I'll read it, make sure it's all done. Now it's procedures, and we know exactly. We've got verbatim flows and call outs. We don't gear down. We don't say put the gear down. No, it's gear down. I mean, it's very specific call outs. We don't want to hear any other words other than what's supposed to be heard for what needs to be heard. So everybody does the same thing. So it doesn't matter who you're flying with. It's all the straight same procedure. So it's very, very safe in that matter. You're not second guessing what this guy over here is going to do. They're very skillful to get out when they finally get cleared to go.
I was curious if before all of our systematic procedures, if when you would be a captain or when you were co-pilot, if there was sort of a briefing of from you, say the captain, to the co-pilot, this is how I do things, regimented by the book, is there sort of a pep talk of this is how we're going to do things on this flight?
We briefed now before we didn't, I mean, the guy might say, I don't do a checklist, and that was it. That was the end of it, and then you're trying to guess through the next 4 days what he wants, how he wants it. And that made it difficult, but it's not there anymore. It's, we brief, are there any threats? I'm tired, I just got divorced, whatever the deal is. Well, this guy's not going to be fully 100% aware, or I didn't get much sleep last night. Okay, then my ears are going to perk up, and I'm going to be a little bit more alert than usual that this guy might not be quite 100% there, and vice versa. I could, be the same way. But you let the guy know, we got threats, we got snow, we got this, that, and what's going on in your personal life. No, you should not bring your personal life into the cockpit at all. That should be left at home. But sometimes it's hard to do. The guy says, I got to go to work, I don't have any sick time. Well, he should have stayed home, because then that might cause an issue within your flight here. And that's the thing about pushing, Oh, I need the money. I can't afford to call in sick. Well, there you made your first mistake. You really shouldn't be flying. You're not all mentally there, so you should be staying home. So then that puts some more burden on the other pilot. But some people, that's why we try to talk and figure out, is this guy really capable of going on this 4-day trip, or is he's 100% here at work and leaving everything else behind. I mean, when he went through strikes or 9/11 or, bankruptcy, that all that stuff should have stayed out of the cockpit, but it didn't stay out. Everybody's discussing it. They're not doing what they should have been doing. Oh, we're already descending. Oh, we forgot to do this checklist. They realize they hadn't even done the checklist yet, because they're all upset about what's happening with the company. All that should be left out of the cockpit.
Have you ever had to correct anyone saying, hey, focus?
Well, you don't talk. We have sterile cockpit below 10,000 feet, so absolutely I'll make sure nothing is ever said, because that is an absolute violation. Yeah, you get up to cruise altitude, and you got 5 hours. You can discuss stuff as long as you're monitoring properly and everything else. But some things do need to stay home, and then you go, we're not discussing that subject, and so forth.
Let's pretend I'm a brand new jump pilot, and I'm going to get checked out by you. I'm sure you're picking up on a lot of cues by me before I even get into the cockpit, and certainly evaluating just how I handle myself. What are you paying attention to, and what would cause you pause or concern?
Well, I've taught a lot of them. Like in a 182, I worked for a company that taught some jump pilots, and you brief them prior, because I don't know them, so you give them a full briefing, a full half a day on how it works and so forth. But it depends on their comments. They might say, well, I already know that, or I know that. Well, then now we're already in trouble, because you don't know everything. And if you did know it, fine, just pick up a couple tidbits here and there. And then it depends on, I look and see how they did a pre-flight. Because if they just did a quick walk around, well, okay, now we're already in a safety issue. So it starts from the very beginning of walking out to the airplane, and, their attitude's good, and they're willing to learn. They don't know anything. I can teach them. I can teach anybody anything. It's just, are they able to apply it and do it properly?
You have such high standards for yourself. What makes you upset? What either with others or with yourself, I suppose, but I guess, what are your pet peeves? What gets under your skin?
Loud music. Music I don't like someone's playing in the hangar that I gotta wear my earplugs, but that's not my place. I don't own it, so they can do whatever they want to do with it. Put the music on as loud as they want to, but I don't really have anything. My big, I can't really say that not too many things get under my nerves whatsoever. I'm trying to think when I'm overseas, this or that. I mean, I adjust. I'm flexible. The weather's cold, hot. I don't have air conditioning, and we're sweating like pigs. Well, you know what? This is what we have. So we, suffer for 7 days. You got. I don't complain about the food, the culture. I'm over in a different place, and this is all we get. We don't have ice in Europe. Okay, I don't have ice for 7 or 8 days. Drink warm water. I mean, some people will complain about anything and everything, and I just go with the flow of whatever the situation is. I'm not going to change it. I mean, I might better something. People come up, Cheryl, can you go see if we can get this? Okay, let me go see if I can get a toilet paper for the outhouse, whatever. Honest to God. I mean, overseas we got the porta pots and there aren't any toilet paper, so I'll go find some toilet paper, we go buy some or something like that. But I'll contact the organizers on a few things like that, because that's a health issue. Health issue then becomes a safety issue. So all that leads into that safety stuff where someone got sick because of the non-cleanliness of where we're at.
I just want to make a comment as we push forward here. There is I don't know, have you ever looked at your own Wikipedia page?
I've a couple times, just a couple little things here. Surprised where all that stuff comes from.
Is it pretty accurate?
Yes, it is.
Okay, well, there's a picture on your Wikipedia page, and it's rather impressive to me. You're sitting amongst what appears to be some heavy military hitters. At least that's the appearance of the picture. And you are explaining the hazards of poor planning to paratroopers with 2nd Assault Helicopter Battalion and the 82nd Combat Aviation Brigade, as it is listed in Wikipedia. And this is during a stand down at York Theater on Fort Bragg. Do you ever get intimidated in the audiences that you're with? I'm not even sure if you recall this image that I'm referring to, but are you intimidated by anybody in the military or outside?
No. I have my skill, my knowledge, and I apply what I have to give to them, whatever. And yes, I mean, you might be, it's like one day I was flying the airplane, and my co-pilot, I brief him and I go, God, this guy's got, he's been in the military. You can just tell, he's still calling me ma'am and all that. And finally, up at altitude, I says, I know you're an officer, because I'm only a little E9, E8, but yes, I'm the captain over here, and, you're 50 and I'm slightly older, whatever. And I go, what rank were you? He says, I was a 3-star general. I mean, okay. So then I, made the announcement, you got general, be my little, lieutenant general, such and such, so our co-pilot, and I'm your captain, and so forth. Because I was real proud to have him here that's flying with us, that he retired from the military, and, so no, I'm not intimidated. I mean, he's got some skill, he's got knowledge. Now it's like, now what can I grab from you? See, I'm all about getting more and more knowledge and information. So if someone's better than me, I am willing to take whatever knowledge I can get from them. I don't know everything, and I will never know everything, but I'm willing to learn, and I'm willing to give. I'm willing to give back the knowledge that I have, but I am still out there seeking everything I can seek from everybody I can. Disregard the bad and take all the good.
When I asked the question if you're intimidated by anyone, I knew the answer was no, but I just wanted to hear you say it.
No.
Cheryl, you are such a high achiever. Can you share with me, you don't achieve by accident. There is a system. It's regimented. You have habits that are just built into place, I imagine. What are your habits, say, on a daily? What does your day look like that allows you to operate at such a high level of performance, not just when you're training for something, but just in life?
Well, I think the most important thing is your health. And so for me, it's eating right, exercising. So my number one priority is exercise. People say, oh, you're addicted. I said, well, okay, my body's addicted, let's say. But you know what? I don't feel good when haven't had endorphins or something and get my heart rate up and then try to stay in shape. It's harder as you get older. It's harder and harder to stay in shape and maintain it. Whatever you face the fact, I'm not slowing down. I'm going to be able to run those 10 miles. Well, no, you can't. When you're 70, almost 70, it's a lot of wear and tear on the body, and I want to keep my knees, I want to keep my back, and so I do more lower impact workout. I don't pound myself in the ground like I did in the old days, because I still can walk great. I got both knees and ankles and back, and I want to keep it that way. So to me, my regiment is number one priority is exercise. Once that gets out of the way for the day, then you can make me sit and do whatever I want to do. And then I am very routine. I am absolutely, and I have to have a schedule. I got to know what's going to go on during the day. At 2:00 I'm doing this, at 1:00 I'm doing this, and then I am really time proper, I'll be there right on time, 2 minutes early, and, that's a challenge too, getting where you need to get and going all over the place and making sure you're where you are. My pet peeve is I don't like anybody waiting on me. Okay, if I got to wait on you, fine, but I hope you call me or something. But man, if I'm going to be 1 minute late, I am going to let you know I'm going to be late. I just do not be late.
So tell me, what time do you get up in the morning?
It varies. 5 o'clock, 6 o'clock, 7, depends what time did I come in from Europe? Did I this? What time do I need my day to go all day long? Especially during the summer, it's more early because it's hot, and I got to get things done early while I can before it gets hot outside. But otherwise, I'm definitely an early riser, and I go to bed earlier, like by 10 and up by 5 or 6. But I do get the 7 hours sleep. I think sleep is important. I don't sleep 9 hours, but 7's about a good amount. 6 is a little less, not enough. You get tired 3 or 4 days later.
So when you say you're exercising, what does that look like? What kind of exercise are you doing, and how soon after you've woken up are you doing it?
It depends. Not very soon. Not like I used to just jump out of bed and run 7 miles. No, I have to wait a little bit and stretch a little bit and get the joints moving per se. But I look at what I've got during the day, and then I fit in my workout. Like today, I had too many things. I only got an hour, 15-minute bike ride instead of my 2 hour. I haven't been able to swim yet, but I'm going to go to yoga tonight. So I have to, and then tomorrow I get all day to finish my full workout, from weights to swim to biking. I mean, I really love biking, especially during the summer. It's hot. It's not hot when you got the breeze blowing, and it's my time where I think or I don't think. I have a routine of where my bike ride is. It's not, and I don't have to think technical. If I want to go on a mountain bike trail, then it's all technical stuff. So there's no thinking other than watching, make sure I hit the roots and the rocks right. You can't daydream on that.
So you ride a mountain bike and a road bike?
And just a mountain bike now on the side where I don't hit the roads. You're not getting hit twice. I don't hit the roads. A little area I do, but I try to hit the trails.
Yeah, I was curious because obviously for those that haven't listened in our last episode, we talked so much about your TBI, your traumatic brain injury, as a result of being hit while riding. I imagine there was some adjustment.
Yes.
Cheryl, you've trained skydivers over the years, a lot of skydivers. What's the most important piece of advice you could give students coming into the sport today?
Know your limits. Know your ability. If something doesn't feel right, then don't push it, because there's a reason. Don't try to make it fit when it shouldn't fit. Just get all the information you can gather. Some people, like I just talked to this guy last weekend, he's buying a rig, and they said, well, after a couple hundred jumps, you want to downsize. And the guy's 50 years old, and he came to me and asked me what size he thought he should jump, or should he buy this rig, but it's costing, $8,000. And I said, well, first of all, you're not going to want to downsize. You're 50 years old. He says, well, you're the first person who's ever said that. And he felt like he didn't want to downsize. He says, I'm too scared to go. I said, well, first of all, you're too old. You're not going to be doing the swooping and all that. That's for the young folks. We are getting older. We don't want to get injured. We want to land safe, soft, and we have family. We have responsibilities. We want to have fun out there, but never end up in a hospital of any sort. So you want to get this size, and you don't ever want to go lower. You might go bigger as you get older, but you're not going to go lower. The advice I gave him, and he was happy to hear that, because that's the way he felt, but everybody else was telling him, just, a few hundred jumps, you want to downsize. But those are the younger ones. Yes, the younger ones push it, they'll downsize, they're invincible, they've had hopefully close calls and can safely do it. 99% of us, yes. And then I know the ones that are going to go get hurt out there. They just push it too much, and it's like, it's a matter of time. They're going to go, hopefully they get a rude awakening, a close call, and then they go, okay. Now, it's like people driving fast on the freeway. They're just going in and out and driving 100 miles an hour, zooming in, zooming out. Well, they're bound, something's going to happen to them.
It makes me think of Bill Booth. He has a rule. I'm going to butcher this, but I've heard him reference this. Sort of Bill Booth's rule of something, but more or less stating, no matter how safe you make a parachute and parachuting equipment today, as long as technology advances, people are going to continuously want to push the envelope. Mm-hmm. And no matter how safe you make the equipment, the fatality rate may not necessarily go down because you're going to continue pushing that edge.
Absolutely. I mean, we have 11 disciplines now. Our old discipline of accuracy, we land on a nice air tuffer to foam tuffer. These guys are landing. If they misjudge, they hit the water, impact of the water, or the hard sand, or the ground out there. It's like, oh my gosh, they're stepping back 40 years from what we've changed. You know, yeah, they have really high performance canopies, but those things scare me. I don't want to go 93 miles an hour under the canopy. Just take me 10, just nice, slow, gentle, thing through the air. So yeah, technology, you're going to push the envelope. Things are getting better and better out there. And people are getting better skills than what we had back then because of the equipment and the knowledge that we didn't have. But a lot of it was equipment that you can only do so much with our flying abilities and performance of canopies. Now things, it's like the jets compared to the World War I airplanes. It's the same thing.
This podcast is sponsored by Beyond Marketing, the digital marketing agency for the skydiving industry. Now, I'm not a fan of lots of ads during a podcast. I mean, who likes ads? So I'll stop talking about how marvelously wonderful Beyond Marketing is. But if you're curious about what the amazing people of Beyond Marketing do to help drop zones and manufacturers thrive, then you should check out their website at dropzone.marketing. That's dropzone.marketing.
Cheryl, you've won every accolade there is to win. In skydiving and
yes, and then it's a matter, do I do it 2 or 3 or 4 times or not at all again? Sometimes it takes years to do it again.
But you seem so steady, right? You don't seem to get very high. You don't seem to get very low. At least that's my impression of you. Mm-hmm. Do you ever allow yourself to allow the accolade that, and even if it's not competition, say it's an award or being inducted into the Hall of Fame or various awards that you've won, do you allow it to sink in? Do you go, yes, I'm look what I did? Or is it just another award that goes in the drawer and you move on?
No, I mean, the awards are big ones. Those are, first of all, like I got one award, I go, what's this one about? And then I had to go look it up. I mean, how did I get nominated for this? Who nominated me? Because I had no clue. But then when you look at it and you look at what I've done, then it's like, oh, okay, I guess I deserve that, but that's where I am. But they don't go into a drawer. They are displayed in my house, and someone who comes to my house, I will explain each award because I am proud to have them, because I don't go after these awards. I have no clue what's out there. They get nominated for them. So what surprises me is, I really did that. And then when I look back, I go, I guess I really did do that, because I'm just moving on day to day. I'm not going out there to win awards. I'm not out there to, yes, I want to win competitions. That's all we want to do, as competitors. But there's more to it than that. It's who you are and how you formed and what have you left behind. What little tidbit did you give to this person over here that made them drive harder, be more successful, go that direction, or back up and go, I don't need to be going that way. What? I don't know all the stuff that I've done until someone tells me 20 years later that if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be where I am today. Or, what little pep talk you gave over here, I learned so much. So I don't know what I've instilled. I just try to give my knowledge and try to keep people safe. And it's like when I was teaching people how to jump to be world champions, I says, well, the information I'm giving them is I'm riding myself right out of a job, because I gave them the steps that they needed to do to become the world champion. And yeah, I did write myself out of the job because everybody else is taking it, which is fine. Have at it. Beat me out there. But, that's I'm not here to keep all the secrets.
I do want to jump in there, though, that there's one thing to have the technique and know how to do the thing, but there's a whole nother thing with mental toughness.
Yeah.
Which you have in spades.
Yes. I mean, it's like if I explain my 352 jumps in 24 hours, most people can't make 10 jumps, an accuracy jump a day, even if someone else packed it for them, and let alone 352. So when you explain it all, people that are accuracy jumpers, they go, oh, they can't even fathom that. It's unheard of, basically. It just picking yourself up, even when you lose or you don't do well, or you've just had a bad jump and you just screwed your team. Now you've got to pick yourself up and prove that now that's where, like, okay, there is no more misses now. Okay, that's another real big drive. I cannot miss. I just can't. I ate my 16, but there's no more to be added centimeters to this game.
I'm trying to grasp about you, Cheryl, is you're matter of fact. There's no plan B. There's plan A. You go out, you execute, you win. You win accolades. You don't ever seem to get a big head. It's you never conceded. It just seems like it's very matter of fact, as if you expect it, you win it. It's not that you don't appreciate it. You appreciate it, but you don't appreciate it too much. What in this process does anything get you excited? Because we're all excited about what you're doing, but you seem to be the one that's least excited about it all.
No, I'm excited inside, but I don't show it. It's like it's hard to win a parachute meet. I mean, you have to be in the zone. Now, how do you get in the zone? That's the challenge. Eat right, sleep right, and all. You have to know your body really well. I'm at that level, and so and you can't tire yourself out by talking too much to someone, because talking wears you out. So you have to monitor your alertness and all this other stuff. So that's the level I'm at. And then where I've fallen, don't do well, is because I didn't do something right over here. I didn't eat right. I didn't get to sleep right. That's a problem with the overseas trips. I'm good on the third day, but not the second day, or the fourth day, whatever. I'm not quite all there. So how do I need to get myself all there where everybody else just is still in the same time zone and I'm 6 hours different? So yeah, it's inside. I keep it inside, but it's a challenge. It's an absolute challenge to be at that level and to stay there, and then to still keep the smile up, even though inside you're just unhappy, sad. And then sometimes I have to step back and go, this is a game, Cheryl. This is just a game. Let's move on. There's always next year. It's always next year. Cheryl, there's always next year. How many years I have to go, to keep going. So no, it's not easy.
Yeah, that's amazing self-awareness to go check in with yourself. I'm more fatigued today than I was yesterday, or I know that I'll probably be better tomorrow if I properly hydrate, or whatever that may be. But it seems like you are very much self-attuned of where you are.
Yes, absolutely. Before it was all luck, being attuned and winning, and what puts you in that in the zone. What gets you where you're in the zone? So what did it take to be there, to stay there for that week? What did you eat? How did you sleep? So now you're taking notice of yourself for years and years and try to keep whatever it takes to stay there. And then if you step out of it, I know when I'm not, oh man, it's like, oh my God, this is difficult for me today. I hope the weather is really bad so I don't have to jump, because I already know that it's going to be hard for me to be there. To all be there. I'm off slightly. And what's making me off slightly? What is not quite right? I feel fine, but you're really not. You're just not quite all there. And not being there is not going to make you win.
Does aging frustrate you?
Yes, it does. I think, some of my friends go, well, sure, you're just getting older, your reactions aren't as quick, this or that, eyesight, blah, blah, blah. And that's now that starts going, okay, what do I need to do to fix that? What do I need to do to have the fast reflexes, the mental thing? The other day I was so hot. I was on my 11th jump. I mean, it was 105, 110 index. I came in and I was low on a no wind. I go, okay, I'm done. I wasn't there. I should have never been in the position I was in. Oh yeah, I landed and missed the tuffet. Out jump. Oh, this is ridiculous. We're done. It's time to quit. Because the harder you push, the worse it's going to get. And I'm exhausted. And then I say to myself, well, you can't be exhausted. Sure, you made 352 jumps. You only made 11 today. What's your issue? I mean, sometimes that comes back and plays at me. But then again, hey, I did that 95, almost 40 years ago. 30 years ago? 40. 30. Yeah, 30 years ago. There's a difference in the body, which I don't accept sometimes. I'm not going to accept. But I've accepted a few things. If you accept that the problem is, then you don't keep going where you need to be going. I need to keep moving the same level, the same pace as a 40-year-old, 20-year-old. That's what I tried to do.
And succeeding rather well, I would say.
And trying to do that. And I can't accept I'm a 68, 69-year-old person in a slowpoke turtle out there. No, I have to jump. Pack. I mean, these guys at the drop zone, they don't even pack a parachute. I made 11 jumps and packed every one of them, make every other load. And they go, whoa, But, that keeps you young, too.
Amazing. Last question, Cheryl, because we have to get you off to yoga. Mm-hmm. Let's fast forward 50 years from now. Mm-hmm. You'll be 118, and I think you'll still be around at based on everything you've just shared with us. So 50 years from now, people will be learning about you and all of your incredible achievements. What do you hope they'll take away from all that they learn?
I wish you'd asked me that question where I could have thought a little bit. I'm trying to get the words, but I think it's more of that. She's highly respected. She respected people, and she's humble, and she had a great attitude. And I think the biggest thing is respect out there. That's what I strive for. And she left some, I don't know what the words, some good mentorship information behind, whatever it might have been.
Do you ever think about legacy?
I don't think about it, but at my age now, I know I have left things behind, help people along the way, for sure. I mean, I do get phone calls. A friend of mine, aviation-wise, thought he was going to get in trouble by the FAA. I says, no, you didn't. I explained it to him. He says, oh, that's why I call you, because and it says, you can relax. You're not getting in trouble. Just go on and move on with the day. So I get certain calls that, my knowledge that helps the younger ones. He's young, flying, and thought he was going to get in big trouble, and explained to him that, no, he's all right. It's all right on this one. But if he did this and this and this, no, you wouldn't have been.
Cheryl, thank you so much for coming in again. Thoroughly enjoyed the conversation. So inspiring.
Inspirational, that's the word.
Without a question, you're an inspiration to me and countless people. And I wanted to have you on again because I want more people, a newer generation of jumper that's coming into the sport that maybe not familiar with you, they need to be. Mm-hmm. You're doing it such the right way without making noise, certainly not broadcasting everything on social media and beating your chest. Your actions do the talking for you.
That's a good way of putting it.
I admire you as a competitor. I'm fascinated by your brain, how you are able to overcome challenges and almost thrive on it. I think my takeaway from our conversation today is Cheryl loves a challenge. The harder, the better. I do. Yeah, and we are conditioned to try and live as easy a life as possible. And when challenges come, but you thrive on that, and it gives me more clarity that why there is no plan B. Why would there be? I'm going to enjoy this challenge and overcome it. Mm-hmm. So thank you. I'm so grateful for our time.
Well, thank you, James. I appreciate it.
A real pleasure.
Hey everyone, thanks so much for listening to the 20-Minute Call podcast. Please do follow us on your podcast app so you always have the latest episode, which is released every Monday. If you want to contact the team, our email address is podcast@beyondmarketing.xyz. This episode was edited and engineered by Garnet Znydrick of the YouTube channel Blue Skies, Fun Days. Thanks for listening, and join us next week
for our next episode